So today we're going through an example of someone that has made a mistake buying property. They haven't timed the market appropriately, they haven't purchased the right type of asset, and they haven't conducted the due diligence on the property itself. So they initially approached me to get some help because they realized they didn't know what they were doing. But somewhere along the lines they decided to go off on their own, which is completely fine. But the thing is, 1.5 years later, they reached out to me, told me where they ended up buying, and it hasn't really done so well. In fact, it's probably gone down by about 20 grand since they purchased it, which is not what you want. The first mistake they made was buying the wrong asset type. So in the area where they purchased, it's in Broadmeadows, Victoria. The price difference between a unit or a townhouse and an actual house is not that significant. And what happens when there's that sort of situation going on is when deciding between a $400,000 unit or a just over $500,000 house, people generally go for the house. So that is not necessarily the right asset to be buying in that particular area. So that's the first mistake they made. They bought the wrong asset type. Second, they didn't really conduct due diligence. They bought on a busy street. They bought the back unit of a 3-unit complex. There's only 2 bedrooms in the house, which doesn't appeal to the widest variety of buyers. The floor space is quite small, and it doesn't even have a closed garage. It just has like a carport in it. So all those things would detract future buyers from wanting to be interested in that property or driving any interest towards that property. Being across the road from the petrol station on a busy street is not ideal. So it's one of those things where, if you don't know what you're doing and you want to get into property, and I know that there's a lot of fear of missing out, the market's starting to move, I'm never going to be able to afford getting into this market, etc. But please make sure you make the right decision. If you're buying, it's one thing to know where you're buying, but it's another thing to know what type of asset you're buying, and also the type of due diligence that needs to be done that will make sure your asset performs well over the short term and the long run. So and look, there are very clear ways of going about finding these different locations to buy in and doing this due diligence. And at the time, if these potential clients that went off on their own, if they had sort of followed my advice and went up to, at the time, Townsville, regional Queensland, they would have made $100,000 by now. So that's the difference between knowing what you're doing and not knowing what you're doing. So I hope that helps everyone out there. Please don't make the same mistake. If you're going to get into property investing, please learn how to do everything. Don't just jump in, because it can turn from a really great asset into a liability very quickly.